Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Valentine II. It's a Tier 4 Soviet premium light tank. It's located on the north spawn of Lakeville, and this one is under the command of Red Dog Alpha 1. And for once on the NA server, he's in a game without bots at below Tier 5. Okay, game on. Well, this tank is a little underwhelming compared to the British Valentine, which is actually at Tier 3. The reason being is that the Soviets actually fitted a 45mm gun onto the Valentine. In fact, it was the F95 gun, which, although it's capable of doing 47 alpha and penetrating 51mm of armor, is kind of underwhelming if it's played in a It's kind of underwhelming when it comes to penetration and damage, because of course the difference is the British Valentines actually had a 2-pounder gun, 40mm, which is actually doing a lot more. Whoa! Drove into the windmill. This is actually capable of doing penetrating a lot more armor, and of course they both have fast fire rates. And well, he got some damage on the BT5. Remember, 47 alpha. Now you can see that Red Dog Alpha 1 has loaded the premium rounds. He's actually got 84mm of pen, which is slightly better, but it's a little more expensive per shot. So yeah, you have to watch out, because otherwise he could burn up a lot of ammunition. And at the moment, yeah, he's headed into town. He's going to encounter the enemy tanks in there. Now the Valentine tank, it's an infantry tank. It's designed to walk at the same speed as the troops, or at least the troops if they're running, and it's got very good armor on the actual hull. The turret's not so strong, but the hull's fairly good, and it's actually quite a good design, although the British built 8,000 of them in total, and they used it as the base for the Bishop Arty as well. In fact, the Valentine II was the one they used for the Bishop. Oh, and he's got his first kill, the T29. He's now started to plug the T29 with holes. One of the great things about this tank is it does fire rather quickly. Standard reload time 2.19 seconds. You can see Red Dog Alpha 1's got 2.1, and he's now chasing after that Chiha. Get a shot? No, he can't. Now, they actually sent 3,782 of these to the Soviet Union under Lend-Lease. And of those that they sent, 2,394 came from Britain and 1,388 came from Canada. Now, I don't know if they actually came across the Atlantic and then were shipped over the North Cape. I think it may have been that way. But they certainly did ship a lot to the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union actually appreciated it because it's actually a fairly rugged tank. It's a bit slow, but it is a rugged tank because it did have good armor, and therefore it could actually keep up with the troops as they were moving to attack the Germans. Oh, he got a fire! He's set him alight, and he's pumping those shells into the Chihi, who's going to go down next shot. And he's got his second kill. Now, it's actually originally made with a petrol engine, the Valentine tank, but they actually converted it to diesel, and the ones that went to the Soviet Union, the Valentine II, they were diesel tanks. So say they fitted the 45mm main gun, and that's because the Soviets actually manufactured loads of 45mm shells, and it was easier for them to make those rather than to make the 40mm 2-pounder shells and use those instead. I suspect a lot of Valentines were lost when they were shipped over North Cape to the Soviets, when they had to go around Norway and come up or go into the Soviet Union Murmansk. Mainly down to the fact, of course, that there was a lot of Germans trying to stop them going round. They had U-boats and they had bombers, and they even had surface raiders trying to take out the ships that were carrying the tanks. On one particular convoy, PQ-17, an awful lot of tanks were lost. Now, he's come up against T6 medium. He should be able to penetrate that guy, no problem, but you can see the holes he's making are rather tiny. But he did get it in the end, and that's the last kill of the game because it's a reduced numbers and the end of the first replay. Well, in the end of the first replay, Red Dog Alpha 1 managed to get an ace tanker in the Valentine II. Yes, he did a lot of damage. He only got 3 kills in the game, but he did actually help his team, and he managed to get an ace for his performance. He got a 5 for effect for doing more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle, a bruise, a medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 6 on this one. His win rate from this one, 5,139, so he performed exceptionally well in this tank. The Valentine II is not a really good trainer tank, even though it's a premium, because of course you can use it as a premium, the trainer. The problem is that the commander also acts as the gunner, so you've got a crew of 3, the driver up front, the commander is also the gunner, and then a loader. And so really, it's not really that good for crew training. You can only really use it for the Soviet light tank line anyway. So a lot of people might have this because it's a very cheap premium tank, but it's not a great training tank. Let's have a look at the team score. Well, he definitely got the highest damage on his team, but not the highest damage overall. The Chihi on the enemy team, one of the tanks he killed actually, got 1,166 hit points of damage, whereas we can see that Red Dog Alpha 1 got 1,031, and in third place we got the Marder 38T, who managed to get 904. When it came to kills, he actually had the highest number with 3 when he killed the last tank. He actually got 2 kills went to the Marder 38T, the T6 medium, and the Lux on his team, and on the enemy team there, Chihi and Strodny Viz 39 got 2 kills. And when it came to base XP, he's got that one, so he's got 2 out of 3 on the columns. The Chihi denied him the high caliber, but then he didn't get 20% of the enemy hit pools, so that's why he didn't get a high caliber medal. The P2640 got a cool-headed in that game, so he must have been on the receiving end of quite a lot of fire. So, the second highest base XP was only the Lux with 491. So you can see how well Red Dog Alpha 1 performed in comparison to some of the other players. And the Locust got 488. He fired 24 shots in that game. It does have a large ammo count, although some people would say actually it doesn't have enough. 120 rounds in total. And the rate you fire, 1 every 2 seconds or so, you can easily get through that ammunition if you keep firing at the same target and keep pumping away. The thing is that it's all about making sure you do damage, because if you use the standard shells, they don't have a lot of pen, and that can actually be a problem when you're trying to take out an enemy tank. You might have to spend more ammunition to try and take it out, because some of those shells are likely to bounce or at least not get through the armor. That's why it actually paid for Red Dog Alpha 1 to use the premium rounds, even though it was expensive. He got 21 direct hits, fired 24 shots, got 21 direct hits and 19 penetrations. You see how that affected the fact that he used the premium ammo really did increase his chances of actually getting those shells through. 1,031 hit points of damage, of which 106 were at more than 300 meters. 2 hits received, 1 penned, 1 didn't pen, and he damaged 6 of the enemy, killed 3, 65 hit points of damage assistance. Now, on a premium count, he actually earned 67,222 credits from that game, even though he spent a lot on premium ammo. He did earn a lot because he got a mission completion in there. If that mission completion had been taken off, then he would actually still have a profit of 17,222 credits. He also took away 3,233 XP, so again, a valuable amount of XP earned. The only problem, as I said, you can't really use the Valentine II as a training tank. It's not easy to transplant the crew into another vehicle when the commander is also the gunner. And of course, you have to choose which skills you're going to have as a commander stroke gunner, because you've got all the skills that are applicable to a gunner are also on the same person who's also got to have all the commander skills. And so, yes, you kind of rush to try and give him everything you want, but it's difficult. So, yes, it's much easier to use some of the other premium tanks as trainers. This is the first battle. Let's have a look at the second replay. The second replay is on the north spawn of Steppes, and yet again there's no bots in the team. It's all human players, and they've got a full team for both sides. Well, it looks like Red Dog Alpha 1 is going to go over to the west side of the map, fight down the heavy line. He does have the armor for it, so he can actually do it. But the rest of the team, well, some of them are split and going down the center of the map, while the others are going off to the east side of the map. And the only one who's actually come with him on this game so far, it's no one actually. He's all alone. Oh, the M3's decided to join him. He's coming up behind him. Now, what can I tell you about the more about the Valentine II? Well, they actually used it at the Battle of Moscow in 1941, when the Germans were seeking to take over the Russian capital. Some Valentine IIs had already been sent to the Soviet Union, and the Russians actually appreciated using it because, of course, with these tanks, they actually managed to stop the Germans before they could get into the capital. And I've actually been to the spot and seen the spot where they were stopped. There's a monument there in Moscow, or just outside Moscow, where it actually happened. Okay. Gets one penetration in. He's having difficulty because he's staying in tunnel vision. You should stay outside tunnel vision. Yeah, he got a fire on the Sereno there. Oh, and the Panzer 1C's being a bit of a pest. And he is actually starting to get pens, but now we're going to deal with him because he's only got 20mm. First pen, and he gets the second one in. I think he was using auto aim there. Anyway, sometimes it actually can be beneficial to stay out of sniper view, so you can actually see what's going on, where the enemy are moving. And just you move the cursor around to try and get the cursor onto the target to get the hits. Anyway, yes, the Soviets, or rather the Russians, now the Soviets built a monument outside Moscow on the road into the city, the closest the Germans got to the center of Moscow. And I can tell you, it's very close to the center of Moscow, actually. The Germans got almost there. He's using the premium ammo. They almost got in, but they were just outside the ring road. Now, there is also, and if you've ever been to Moscow, you'll know that there are not only the Kubinka Tank Museum, but there's also a lot of tanks on static display out in the park, so you can actually go and see them. Now, that T6 medium is actually being a bit of a pain. We do have an M3 Stuart nearby. The best thing for Red Dog Alpha to do would actually be move forward, because from this angle, he's going to bounce a lot of those shells on the T6. Ow! And the T6 just took out his driver. He needs to put the driver back in. Now, he needs to close the distance on that T6 medium, because he just fired an HE round at us and got 59 hit points. So he's actually better off getting close as he can, so him and the other tank can actually do some serious damage at close range, because they should be able to pen at close range. It's the long range shots, because of course APCR loses pen the further out you are. Okay, this is better. And he's a bit more hull down. He's going for the transmission there. Oh, and he's got a steel wall now because he blocked another shot. Only lost 73 from that. He should be driving directly towards that T6. The AMX-38 has gone in to try and kill him, but instead, Red Dog Alpha 1's ignoring the T6. He's trying to bypass him. And I think that's a bit of a mistake, because I don't think the AMX-38 is going to be able to survive if the T6 starts unleashing onto him. If he'd gone in there himself, he probably would have been able to take the guy out. Okay, now he can help, and yes, the AMX did lose his fight with the T6. That was a mistake, but he's actually able to get shots in. Now, why is his reticule drifting from the center? I think that may be because he's on auto aim, but it's very disconcerting. Normally the view should follow the reticule as it's auto aimed on, it's locked on to the target, but he doesn't seem to do that. It always seems the reticule that drifts around rather than the whole view. The T6 has gone down. The M3 Stuart managed to get the kill, and that's it. The game's over. They've won it. Well, here's the end of battle stats, and despite the fact that he only killed 2 tanks in this game, Red Dog Alpha 1 managed to get an ace tanker in the Valentine II. He also got a 5 for effect for doing more damage than hit points to his own vehicle, bruised the medal for getting at least 5 critical hits, he got 10, and he got a cool-headed for surviving 10 or more ricochets or non-penetrating shots in a row, and that probably came courtesy of that Panzer 1C who kept firing his cannon, but he kept firing it at the hard points. You've got to try and aim for the weak spot, which is, of course, the corrugated engine cover on a Valentine II. He actually got a win rate of 4,573, which is very good. It's Super Unicum standard, and if we look at the previous replay, we can see that was 5,139, so he's keeping up the standard of getting a lot or a very high win rate. Now, he didn't get the highest damage in this game because that went to the Looks, who got 1,120 hit points of damage. Second highest damage went to Red Dog Alpha 1. He got 949, of course, picked up that cool-headed. And in third place was the Looks, the other Looks, who got a Confederate and 811 hit points of damage. When it came to kills, the Looks managed to get 4 kills, but so did the Sahariano on the enemy team. Terrible pronunciation on that one. He got a Leather Slaves medal in that game and 4 kills. And in joint second place, we've got Red Dog Alpha 1 in his Valentine II, the Panzer Acton ICT, who managed 2 kills, and also the T6 Medium on the enemy team got a cool-headed and 2 kills. That was the guy that he was up against for some of the time. Now, the advice on that one with the T6 Medium is to try and close on the target as quickly as you can to get the penetration up on your shells, because they've got a shorter distance to fly, and then to try and hit the weak spots, because of course if that T6 Medium can just shoot you and lob shells at you, HE rounds at you long range away, then of course he's always going to come off better because his HE rounds can do considerable damage. Anyway, going back to the base XP, we can see that yes, Red Dog Alpha 1 got that one with 841, he was the highest. 807 went to the Looks and 560 went to the other Looks. So at least he got the top in one of the columns, missed out on the other 2. Fired 27 rounds in this game, but got 22 direct hits and 12 penetrations. He had a bit of trouble with the penetrations. You saw that with the T6 Medium. I said it was T6 Medium was slightly angled, and that's why he needed to close the distance on the guy as quickly as he could, to make sure that that guy couldn't get off as many shots as he wanted. And then once he's actually in close range, then he could start pumping those rounds into the side of the vehicle and strip his armor away quickly. 949 hit points of damage, of which 46 were done at more than 300 meters, 26 hits received from the enemy. Virtually all of those came from the Panzer 1C. 3 of them penetrated. Well, yes, unfortunately, he did get a few that went through the engine deck. 21 non-penetrations, which of course gifted him the medal, and he also received 2 hits by way of splash. Both of those came from the T6 Medium, and of course they did do damage. 259 hit points of damage blocked by armor. He spotted 2 enemy vehicles, damaged 4 of the enemy, killed 2, and did 152 hit points of damage assistance. Now, he did earn a profit in this game, 14,362 credits, despite the fact that he did have to pay a lot for premium ammo. He did earn a fair amount of damage as well, but a fair amount of credits, and he took away 4,416 experience points as well. So, yes, 2 good battles in the Valentine II, 2 ace tankers. So, yes, this might be a very underused tank on the NA server. So if you want a bit of practice, this might be the tank to use. I wouldn't say it's great for earning credits, though. The problem is that you need to use those premium rounds to get through the armor of the enemy tanks. If you don't use premium, he would have had even more difficulty with that T6 Medium than he did in this game. So you have to use premium rounds, but of course that detracts from the amount of credits you will actually earn at the end. So yes, it can be used as a crew trainer, but it's not very good again because there's only 3 crew, and the commander is also the gunner, which makes it difficult to pick the skills that he actually needs as a light tank driver. So it can be easier to use a different tank to train the crews, something that's actually got more crew and is better at earning credits. But the Valentine II is fun to play even so, because of course it's got very good armor. I hope you enjoyed both of those replays. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.